Welcome you all. In this lecture onwards, we are going to consider our discussions over a new topic, that is the two-port network, which is mentioned in your syllabus module number 2. Before going to initiate our discussion, let us briefly understand at this stage that what's the typical difference between the module number 2 and module number. So when you focus on module number 2, it's mentioned the two-port network, whereas module number 3 is primarily talk about the network functions. So let us first understand what's the fundamental difference between the two. When you talk about a network function, so it is a function where all the currents and the voltages of the network or of the circuits are trying used to establish a relation is called transfer function. Sometimes this transfer function is also recognized as a network function or the system function, depending on the level of function you are considering, whether you are considering at the device level, circuit level, or at the system level. So the interrelation between all the currents and voltages are participating in the network can be recognized as a single term is called the transfer function or the system function. Okay. Now, when we talk about the network function, so primarily it is assumed that all the passive networks, that is the inductances and capacitors, are primarily uncharged. In other words, it is assumed that there is no initial condition exist in that network except the dependent sources, that is in form of current source or voltage source is available, that we can consider, but not the charged capacitor or charged inductor. So that is the constraints. Then we talk about the network function. Now as far as the network function is concerned, the simplest network function or simplest network will always have a one port, so that the same port can be used as a input and as well as to retain the output, because it is used to establish a closed path between the network. Okay. Whereas if you see, there are some classical applications, for example, microphones. That is an example of a one-port network. So at the later stage, we will talk about more about network functions. But as far as the network function is concerned, it is obviously can have a n number of ports. The simplest network function could have a one port, then it can have a two ports. So as far as our discussion is concerned, we primarily restricts up to the two port under the head of this syllabus. And it is should be noted at this stage that around 95% of applications in your day-to-day life, what you see, or in your commercial applications, or whether it is scientific applications or industrial applications, more or less 95% of applications are drawn with the help of some or other possible combination of a two-port network. This is the most popular one. And one port network also has a restricted applications. Beyond two port, we try to use to avoid. We may choose at some stage, we will discuss the parallel combinations and the series combinations of the multiple networks. But ultimately, everything is merged within a white box. And if you see the dedicated port to deliver the input signal and to retain the output signal, that is one port each is dedicated for the input and output. So therefore the two ports has the maximum amount of applications in your day-to-day life what you see. Okay. Now, if you talk about the two port analysis and the network function, in both the case they are classified under the head of four categories. If you talk about network function, that is the driving point impedance function, driving point admittance function, okay, that is the hybrid functions, okay, and it is also recognized as conductance functions. So we talk about these functions at later stage when we will participate in module number 3. Now let us come back and focus on the two port analysis, which is the module number 2, which is the current agenda of our discussions. Now when you talk about two port analysis, so when we say that there is a dedicated network which has a one dedicated input port and which has a one dedicated output port. So that's why it is considered as a two port network. The port where you have a one dedicated input terminal. That terminal or that pair of terminal will be always used to feed the input signal to the network. At the same time, there is another dedicated pair of terminal which is always used to retain the output of that particular network or the response of that particular network. Now, what we do in case of two-port analysis? Now, in two-port analysis, we go typically one level depth to the network function. In network function, more or less, we try to analyze the function as a whole system or as a whole circuit as a one. Whereas within the network or within the complex network, when there are multiple number of currents and voltages are participating as a parameter as the parameters, so in that case you must be noted in your real life applications that what if at one of the junction or one of the juncture of the entire network is short circuited. What if the load terminal is short circuited? What if the load terminal is remain open circuited? What if the same open circuit or short circuit condition is applied in the input terminal? Or if you look at the other side of the coin, if one of the terminal is open circuited or the short circuited, in that case how your existing electrical network or electronic network will be responding. So both the type things can be analyzed under the head of two-port network. Okay, so without waste much time, let us move ahead. Please be noted that as far as the two-port analysis is concerned, I took the special references as mentioned in this particular slide from the Oxford University Press, India, and the University of Tennessee, US. So you can refer these two mediums to get more information about it. So let us review the one-port network first. As we talk about here, a demonstration is given of a audiovisual system or primarily is a audio amplifier. Okay. So in an audio amplifier, the input signal is passing through a microphone. So the microphone is primarily used to convert a audio or a voice into the electrical signal. Okay. So typically it is a one-port network. Get it? Then there are certain intermediate stages as mentioned in the pre-amplifier, then the tone and volume control. Okay, and then finally to get the maximum amount, attain the maximum amount of power so that that signal can travel the longer distance what it can, because if you are not going to amplify a signal, it is hardly able to travel certain amount of meters or centimeters. But if you can amplify it, then it can travel certain kilometers as well. And for that, ultimately as the last component what we use the loudspeaker, which is the reverse scenario of the microphone, is used to convert the electrical signal back to the voice or in audio signal or speech, whatever you want. Right? So as in this demonstration, it has been shown that the intermediate components, intermediate networks, okay, as far as this tone or volume control is concerned, power amplifier is concerned, pre-amplifier is nothing but it is primarily a voltage amplifier is concerned. Okay, these individual circuits fitted within the systems are the two-port network, whereas the microphone or whether you talk about the loudspeaker, both are classified as a one-port network. Okay, so if you combine the one port and two port, it serves the purpose of almost 99.9% applications. A single network, okay, or in other words one port network. Okay, as you can see in this particular diagram that the overall impedance of the network within the box is realized as RTH, or if it is a complex network, in that case that means it is a combination of resistive and reactive components both, then it can be represented as ZTH, Thevenin impedance or Thevenin resistance. And if there are more than one sources are participating, all are clubbed together as an equivalent single source is called Thevenin's voltage, or in other words complementary to that you can represent as a short circuit current or the Norton's current, and with that the Norton's resistance. Okay, so both are ultimately complementing each other. The motto is that it doesn't matter how complex network is, ultimately it can also be realized as one port network. Okay, so let us proceed. So if you see in this particular demonstration, uh, LTI network is taken as an example. What do you mean by LTI? Linear time invariant, right? So that means it's a network which whose response is always a linear. In other words, is predictable, because injection of non-linearity reduces the chances of a predictability. Higher the non-linear is, lesser the predictable is, or higher the non-linear is, proportionally higher the dynamic is. You are increasing the dynamics, and therefore you are reducing the chances of predictability. Okay? So that's why we always appreciate a linear system, because it is always predictable. Okay? Or in other words, things can be easily controlled by us. Okay, keeping ourselves at the highest hierarchy than that of the machine or the system. Okay? Because human is always wanted to keep the command of the entire environment or the system. Okay? So it doesn't matter whether it is a single port electrical network or overall the whole system or configuration. Okay, so come back to our discussions. So it is a, and what is time invariant? A circuit or a device or a system whose response is unchanged with time. It doesn't matter whether you produce now or the later, you are getting the response at that instant only, the moment you feed the input. So that is called a time invariant system. Your response is not going to change with time. Okay, theoretically the delay is zero, or in other words time response is zero, but practically you know that you cannot make any system where the response time is exactly 0 second. It can be certain milliseconds or microseconds or nanosecond. So you can reduce the response time from 5 seconds to 1 second, or maybe 1 second to 10 milliseconds, but it can't be zero. Okay, but the moment you are feeding the inputs, if the continuous input function is kept on feeding, and you are getting a output response through the output function at the output port with the same amount of delay, then it doesn't consider practically as a delay. So that kind of system is called time invariant system. Combination of a two, if your system inherit both the features, both the characteristic, some is called linear time invariant system. So here we take an example of a one port linear time invariant system, and as you can see in this demonstration, there is a dedicated current, there is a dedicated voltage, and therefore there is a dedicated impedance or admittance in that particular port. Zin is mentioned input impedance or input admittance, but it doesn't matter, because right now we took the example of one port network. So there is a no meaning of writing input port or output port. It is just for your understanding only. You can simply write Z or Y as well. Okay, so the input impedance or the impedance of this particular terminal network could be find out by making a ratio of V by I. On the other contrary, your admittance across this particular terminal 1 dash, if we assume, okay, in that case could be find the ratio of I1 by V1. So in this, like for example, in this example, you have seen that you are going to work out the input impedance of this particular dependent network. Okay, because you have a one dependent source. As you can notice that you have a single port. Let us assume this port number is 1 dash. I am talking about it as far as this moment is concerned. This is 1 and this is 1 dash, you can assume. And therefore if you see, this input current is I1, though you have a single terminal, I'm sorry, okay, single pair of terminal, ultimately current and the response will come back through the same terminal only. But this particular source, if you see VI1, so this is the kind of a source, this is kind of current source whose responses depends on this input current. So therefore it is a dependent source. Okay, so if you are going to now work out the, if you are asked to calculate the input voltage or input impedance of this particular network, I hope that you will be able to appreciate it. Okay, so your impedance is ultimately V input. Okay, that is the volt pair of voltage exist over this particular terminal and the input current. So this I1 is nothing but it is the part of your input current. Remember, because you have additional networks current is also available. So please be noted that in this case I input is not I1. Okay, okay. So I1 is the inlet current. Fine. So through that particular conducting path. So if you notice that if you are, let us say, work out Z input first, so that is how much it will be, that is 1 plus beta times of your I1, because that is the total amount of current which will be feeding over here, okay, of your Z2, and then it is come back through this particular path. Okay, so your Z input is actually 1 plus beta into Z2. If you are asked to work out your, which is ultimately a ratio of V input by I input. So from there, you can calculate your V input. Now, how much is the I input? So I input is the amount of current which is equal to I1, okay, because there is a single terminal and you are passing through the same source. So obviously the I input amount of current and this designated current I1 will remain same, which is equal to beta times of I1 plus V input by Z2. So you can use these two formulation to work out this particular ratio. Okay, so that's how you can calculate your I input or Z input or V input. Let's say we consider one more example. Now we take the other side of the circuit. Let's say the output impedance. Say in that example, in application we saw uh, audio amplifier applications, where you see the previous example number one in the example of a microphone, and this example number two is relating to the loudspeaker. Yes. Okay, so in this particular combination, again, if you see, there is a dependent source, okay, and there is a Z1 Z2 is impedance, but output terminal impedance is and voltage output terminal current is, the direction is different, is opposite than that of the I1. Please be noted. So therefore your I output of current which is pressing over here, the indicated over here, will be equal to how much? It is minus of I1 and minus of beta I1, sum of these two currents. Okay, so ultimately it will be equal to 1 plus beta of V output on Z1. Okay, or Z output if you want to work out. So Z output is already available in terms of Z1 and current, that is I out into Z1 upon 1 plus beta. So if you are going to substitute this, you will get Z1 upon 1 plus beta. Okay. So that is all about the one port network. Now let us we jump to our discussions over our dedicated topic, that is called your two port network. So as you can see in this demonstration, that there is a network which has a dedicated input port, and symbolically for our better understanding, we represent, assume that, let's say, the node input node is terminal 1 1 dash and the output node is terminal 2 2 dash. So across the input terminal, the amount of current is injecting is I1, the amount of potential or maybe the source is V1, and similarly at the output port the terminal voltage is V2 and the current is I2. So looking into the KVL's philosophy, we by default assume as both the direction of current is inward. Okay, so before going to move ahead, let me say that there are the four class of the two port network. One is open circuit impedance parameters, short circuit admittance parameters, hybrid parameters or the hybrid network, and the transmission network, or in other words the ABCD parameters or ABCD networks. So why we called parameter here? Because typically, as we said in the beginning of, as I said in the beginning of the lecture, that the classical difference between the system function and the two port network function is that a system can be of a one port or a two port, where as a transfer function you are more caring or you are dedicated over the behavior of the entire network or the entire system. Okay, all the number of currents and participant voltages are participating into the entire network, whereas in case of two port network you are going one level depth to the as far as the analysis is concerned, and now you are more concerned over the impact of the short circuit or open circuit condition over a particular dedicated terminal. And if you are imposing a short circuit or open circuit condition, in that case how the rest of the system is behaving. Okay, so, or therefore we have a dedicated input and output variables, or we called it in currents as a variable, voltage as a variable, or sometimes we also called it as a parameters. Okay, so the role of these impedances or admittances, currents and voltages over a dedicated terminal or over a dedicated port has a typical impact over the given two-port network or the two-port circuit. Okay, so typically this analysis is used to simplify the complex circuit into a simpler network. Okay, with the help of obviously whatever the theorems, network theorems you are required to apply to simplify the network, or whether sometimes you are required to apply the duality property, you can use all these principles and methods and theorems to realize your network. Okay, but ultimately remember, under the head of this topic, our focus of discussion is that impact of a particular parameter, impedance parameter or admittance parameters, okay, or transconductance or the trans resistance, while you are applying a short circuit or open circuit condition over a particular terminal. Okay, so let's see one by one. Okay, as you can see or is demonstrated in this particular slide, that linear two-port network has a one dedicated input port and the output port that we have been already discussed. Okay, so if you talk about the various description of the ports, as you can see here, that the port voltage or port current can be represented in a different way, but as I told you that there are four major classes to uh, designate or to signify these two-port network analysis under the head of those four dedicated parameters. There are some subclasses also which we will talk about when the time will come at the later stage. So let us consider the first parameter, what we call the impedance parameter. So as you know that as far as any two-port network is concerned, it is ultimately driven by the voltage as a variable or the current as a variable or parameters. Okay, so as far as the impedance parameters are concerned, as its name suggests, your V's, that means the V1 and V2, that is the voltages are considered as a dependent parameters, and currents are considered as a independent parameters. That means we are considering a two-port network where all the terminal currents are known to you. As far as the two-port network is concerned, both the input current I1 and the output terminal current I2 are known to you, whereas V1 and V2, that is the input and output terminal voltages, are unknown to you. So they are a dependent variable and currents are the independent variable. Typically, now question comes that why these four types of parameters only, or what are the use of these? Okay, why should I do this analysis? So the answer is that as far as each, obviously the each uh, parameters or methods has their own application. So we will come over one by one. Now, as far as the impedance parameters are concerned, or as I told you in the beginning, that it is a open circuit impedance parameters. Okay, so why we called it? Okay, what are the application? So typically these parameters, impedance parameters, are used to find the impedance. The most important application is the impedance matching property. Okay, and you know that impedance matching is one of the essential thing needs to be done so that the signal can be traveled from one port to another port with the least amount of power loss, or theoretically no power loss. Okay? Yes, correct. You are talking about the maximum power transfer theorem. So when we apply the maximum power transfer theorem, even in a complex network, you might have observed that the input impedance should be the complex conjugate of the output impedance. That means other terminal impedance. So if there are two dedicated networks or two dedicated ports, so between the terminals or between the networks, there should be a impedance matching property established. Okay, unless it is not established, you cannot transfer the maximum amount of power. Be noted that you can transfer the power, but actually you are encouraging the losses. Okay, and the actual delivery of power is reducing, which is theoretically between 50%. Yes, and that we can achieve only if, say, load impedance is matched with the circuit impedance, right? So if you got now able to connect it here, so the in real life scenario, whether you talk about the power distribution systems, okay, or whether you talk about the power transmission systems, but the transmission has the different level of ball game, so we will come over later at that stage. But as far as the power distribution system, that means if you have a computer and that is a microelectronic circuit, so within that also impedance matching property need to be addressed. Whereas if you talk about power distribution system or companies or the utilities, where we as end user or the consumer, we are at the one end and the utility at the other end. So to interconnect these two entities, that is the utility power service provider and the power consumer, there is a system what we call the power distribution system. Okay, and this distribution network should establish again a impedance matching. That means the input terminal impedance or the circuit impedance should be equal to the delivery impedance, that is the load impedance, the outer terminal impedance, and then and only you will be in position to transfer the maximum amount of power. Now whether the impedance matching between the terminals, I'm not talking about between the systems, between the terminal within a system, between the terminals are able or not, whether it is done or not, that you can find out with the help of impedance parameter analysis. Okay, that's the beauty of this particular method. Okay, and later at the later stage we see that because we talk about impedance parameter analysis, so though the impedance is added, that means the resistance or impedance is added in series, so therefore if you have a more than one networks within the system, if there are more than one network are participating, as we saw in that particular demonstration as an example, then you have to cascade, that means you have to serially connect all these sub network to establish a bigger network, okay, at the higher hierarchy or the overall system. So in that case also, in a cascade network also, you can apply the impedance matching property. Okay, you can have impedance matching property, and whether you have attained it or not, that you can analyze again with the help of open circuit impedance parameters. Okay, now again and again, why I am saying open circuit impedance parameters? Okay, and please be noted that as far as these slides are following slides are concerned, these slides I have taken referred from the book of Boston. So as you can see over here, okay, this typical two-port network has a demonstration with certain number of constraints. So let us discuss C one by one. Okay, so let us see one by one. Okay, as you can see in the figure number A, right above the corner point. Okay, that particular dedicated two-port network has two dedicated ports where the two sources I1 and I2 are there. Okay, so it's a closed network. So sources can be a voltage source, current source. It's immaterial for us at this stage. But important is that you have a two terminals, one dash, two dash, where the terminal one, the input voltage is I1, current is I1, and the second port two, port number two, the terminal voltage and currents are denoted by V2 and I2. Okay, so therefore the whole equation of the mathematical interpretation of this two-port network can be recognized as V1 is equal to Z11 I1 plus Z12 I2, and V2 is equal to Z21 I1 plus Z22 I2. Okay, now the question comes that what are these Z11, 12, 21 and 22? Okay, there the role of open circuit impedance parameters are comes into the existence. As you can note it down, how many ports we have? Two ports. So if you have a two ports, and how many variables we have? Two variables. Okay, so in that case, if you are going to calculate the impedance of these two networks, how many probabilities you will get? 2 raised to 2. That is the four options you will get. So those four options, when you are calculating the impedance by imposing one of the condition, are as follows. So when you are going to calculate Z11, that means I am only interested to know what is the terminal impedance across the terminal 11 dash only. So that means as far as that given two-port network is concerned, my job is to calculate, or probably I am only interested to calculate, or I am only interested to see the impedance impact over the terminal 1, 1. Okay. So for that, if I need to do, what I will do? Okay. Because see, if we are talking about impedance parameter analysis. Why we called it impedance parameter analysis? Because in this kind of typical network, the voltages are always unknown, as we said in the beginning, as we discussed in the beginning, and current parameters are always known to you. So remember, I1 and I2 in this particular network are known to you, are given, whereas V1 and V2 are unknown to you. Okay, and the V by I ratio, you are going to therefore find out the impedance parameter. So that's why it is called impedance parameter. Now, what do you mean by open circuit? So as I said that there are four different possibilities. If I will choose one of those possibilities at terminal 1 1 dash only, that means at the input terminal 1 only. So I am going to designate that impedance as Z11. Now if I will look at the same circuit from the other angle, that is from the port 2 as shown in figure number B, as from this side, or maybe the figure number D from this side. So then in that case, that terminal impedance will be Z22, that is the output terminal impedance, or in a simple word we will call it output impedance. Similarly for input Z11 we called it input terminal impedance, or in a simpler word we only call input impedance. Now do you think that Z22 will be the same as equal of Z11? No, practically that may or may not be possible, right? That may or may not be possible, we don't know. So therefore we have given a dedicated terminal impedance Z11 and Z22. Similarly, sometimes you may be asked, or your requirement may be to calculate the forward transfer impedance. Now, what do you mean by forward transfer impedance? So as you can see in any two-port network, we said that we have a dedicated terminal impedance. So we have a dedicated input terminal and we have a dedicated output terminals. Okay. So, and you know that when we have a input and output terminals are dedicated, so typically all the time sources are connected, power sources are connected at the input terminal, and the load or the consumer is always connected through the output terminal. End user is always connected through the output terminal of that particular network, right? So in that case, whether I wanted to calculate my impedance in the forward direction or in the reverse direction, that means when I am looking from terminal 2, I am looking from terminal output terminal or the output port, and I wanted to calculate the impact of the impedance over terminal 1. Understood? So which is the opposite than that of the typical flow of direction of current, because we noted that you have a dedicated terminal. So that means the current should always in a real life will flow from terminal 1 to terminal 2. So that is your forward direction. So anything which is flowing from terminal 1 to 2 is your forward direction. Anything which is flowing from or you are assumed that it is flowed from terminal 2 to 1, it is the reverse direction. Okay, it is going to complete the cycles. Okay, fine, but it is the reverse of the direction of flow of the current, because load is connected at the output terminal, so it should always theoretically flow from 1 to 2. So 1 to 2, the transfer of impedance from 1 to 2 is a forward impedance, and the transfer of impedance from 2 to 1 is always a reverse impedance, okay, or in a reverse direction. So therefore now you are getting four quantities, that is Z11, which is recognized as an input impedance, Z22, which is recognized as the output impedance, impact of impedance over the terminal 2 only. Okay, forward impedance, that is from 1 to 2. Okay, so which one is a forward impedance? Can you notice? This is Z21. So remember, you are moving from this outward subscription to inward subscription. That is the always way of recognizing or pronouncing the parameter. Okay, so Z11 is between 1 to 1, 2 to 2. This is 2 to 1. This is 1 to 2. So 1 is the input terminal, 2 is the output terminal. Okay, so this impedance is, you are calculating this impedance of the circuit when you are moving from terminal 1 to 2, when your current is flowing from terminal 1 to 2. So that's why Z21 is called the forward transfer impedance. Whereas Z12, which is you are calculating the transfer of impedance or impact of the impedance over the network when the current is transferring from 2 to 1. Remember, reverse than that of your assumed direction or the theoretical direction. So that is your reverse transfer impedance. It doesn't matter all the four parameter, we are calculating the impedance only, because voltages in this case or in this demonstration or in this application or in this circuit are unknown and currents are the known. So now let us see one by one. How can you calculate Z11 in that case? Because each equation has the two parameters. independent parameter, right? And I1 may not be, may or may not be equal to I2. So therefore, what we are doing, that we will assume that the moment when we will calculate Z11, we will assume that there is no I2. I2 is absent. That means I2 is equal to 0. Or in other words, I can assume that, or I can back, okay, rather than assume, probably you can say that you can back the remodify the circuit in such a way that you keep the output terminal 2 open. So that means if you have any load impedance, if you have any source, dependent source, or anything which is connected to the next stage of the circuit or next stage of the system or the end user, that is the load impedance, keep that terminal open circuit condition. So you apply the open circuit condition over the terminal number 2 and then you calculate Z11. So if you will keep the open terminal, that means if you apply the terminal condition that I2 is equal to 0. So when you will apply that I2 is equal to 0 from this equation, what you can get? Z11, and Z11 which is the ratio of V1 by I1 by keeping I2 is equal to 0. So whatever impedance you will get, that you will get the impedance because of the terminal 1 only, and that's why it is called input terminal impedance Z11. Okay, though we made IT is equal to 0, so probably at this condition you will appreciate we will be also, and if you refer the equation number 2, that is the bottommost equation, we can also calculate one more thing, that is Z21, right? And what is the Z21? That is the ratio of V2 by I1, as you can demonstrate in the figure number D. Okay, so I'm calculating the Z21, that is the amount of impedance when it is being transferred from 1 to 2 by keeping the terminal open. So either you are calculating the impedance terminal at the terminal 1 1 or the amount of impedance being transferred from terminal 1 to 2 due to the flow of current. Okay, so you are getting Z21 forward transfer impedance. Similarly, as you might have already understand, that what if we will keep the input terminal current 0? That means the if you will apply the open circuit condition over the terminal 1 1 dash, so in that case you will be able to appreciate and calculate two more parameters. One is the Z22, so which is the ratio of V2 by I2 as demonstrated over here. So that is the output terminal impedance only, because there is no contribution of terminal 1. It is open circuited. So amount of impedance you are looking because of the output terminal only, and maybe there is a certain amount of impedance which is being transferred from 2 to 1 by applying the same terminal. So that is called your Z12. You are studying it Z12, but transferring the impedance from 2 to 1, always inward, go from outer to inward. Okay, so that is your V1 by, what's that? Yes, I2. V1 by I2 by keeping the terminal input terminal current I1 is equal to 0, as you can demonstrate in this diagram. Okay, so that's how we can get this. Fine. Okay. So the typically the similar thing. So if you are going to, this is nothing but it is the matrix arrangement. So that's how you can get these four parameters of the variables. Okay, in terms of the impedance or overall, which is recognized as Z. So if you are asked to calculate the impedance of the impedance parameters of the two-port network, so that is the way you can calculate. So this Z will be equal to Z11, 12, Z21 and 22. You have to calculate these four parameters. Okay. So the common thing is that is open circuit. So that's why this impedance analysis is also called open circuit impedance parameter. You are calculating. We have already seen this. Probably we can escape. So as an example, there is a demonstration of a T network is given. Actually, both the networks are typically same. Okay. So this is nothing but it is an example of a voltage amplifier. It's nothing else. Okay. You have two dependent sources where the sources are represented in terms of the voltage source. Okay. But it is dependent driven through the current. Okay. Because remember in this network the current are known. Okay, so it is driven through the current. So it is nothing but in other words you can say it is a current dependent voltage source. Yes. Okay, so this Z21 is dependent on the input current I1 and this Z12 is dependent on output current 2. So being transferred from 2 to 1, that's why it is dependent on I2. If It is being transferred in forward direction 1 to 2. That's why it is dependent on I1 contribution, because other was absent. That is open circuited. Clear? So if you can rearrange this particular network, it can be simplified as this particular T network. Okay? Let us take one more example. This is nothing but is an example of coupled circuit, but it is nothing but in an example of a step-up network. Okay, maybe a step-up transformer. Okay, ideal step-up transformer you can say, where you are going to voltage going to amplify by the n times. Okay, so V2 will be a n times of V1, and therefore I1 will be a minus n times of I2 by, because the standard signature is shown in opposite direction. So therefore you are getting a negative of the current. Actually, the flow of direction should be the only one part only, one side only. Okay, like in this case, there is a T network is given. So what you can do, you can calculate. Okay, you can assume here that here it is a V1, here it is a I1, here it is a V2, here it is a I2, and in that case, when you will apply the open circuit condition over here, so that means you are assuming that there is no contribution of I2, there is no I2 is participating. You can provide a source or battery over here, and or you can assume that there is a potential drop if the source is somewhere in the other side. So it is a V1. So by applying I2 is equal to 0, you will be able to calculate, okay, Z21 and Z11, and similarly you apply the open circuit terminal over here. Assume that there is a V2 or V2 is already exist over here, but this terminal is open, so there is no contribution of I1. In that case, you will be able to calculate Z22 and Z12. Okay, so you check it, and I hope that you will be able to solve. Let us do some take some typical example for to develop your better understanding, and that's why I consider this example. Okay, it's a very really a very good application. It has a some real life applications as well. Okay, typically whatever the circuits you see throughout my presentation, all the circuits have some or other kind of real life applications. Okay, so let's say in this particular demonstration, as you can see, that you are asked to calculate the impedance parameters. So obviously you can apply, write it down in the time domain, but as I would advise you that you apply the frequency domain Laplace transform, so that you can solve the problem, or you can mathematically model the circuit and analyze it with a fewer or lesser number of steps. So it will first improve the chances of the system response or the circuit response. So here you can say that as your V1 over here, it is 4 of I2. Okay, so it is a voltage source. Okay, it is a dependent source, and it is basically current dependent voltage source. Okay, so that's why this thing is given. Okay, so it is 4 of I2. Okay, so obviously we are moving in positive to negative side. Fine, so the flow of direction will be positive. Okay, current is moving from positive to upper to lower potential. So in that way we have interpreted over here, and this is we got 1 by of S. Okay, so it is 1 by of S of 0.1, so it is 10 by S of I1 you are getting, and the same thing you are getting for I2. So that is because in this case, remember, you are keeping your output terminal open. I2 is equal to 0. So you are getting one equation here, and when you will write it down, the another equation from the terminal V2 by U1. So in that case, again you are getting the same contribution of 10 by S of I1 plus I2 and 3 of I2. So these are the two mesh equation you got. And if you are going to rearrange these equations, and if you are compare it with the standard Z matrix, so your Z11 will be 10 by S, Z12 will be this, Z21 will be this, Z2 will be this. Okay, so you can cross-examine this answer by the approach I have been told you, the standard approach, that is you apply the I2 is equal to 0, calculate the remaining two factors, and then again substitute the I1 is equal to 1, assume, and then you calculate the remaining two factors, that is your Z22 and Z12. Okay, you will see verify that both the things will remain same. Yeah. Here one more example is given. There is a pi network is given, and you are asked to calculate Z parameters. Very interesting problem. Remember, it is basically pi network, or sometimes we also call it the delta network. Okay, so you can straight away write down your formulations. Okay, so as you can say that if my purpose is to calculate the Z parameter, so that means my intention is always to calculate the ratio of voltage by current. So if I want a voltage by current, so the standard approach is that I should have rearranged my equation, or I should have write my standard equation in terms of mass equations only. Okay, because in mass equations your V's are unknown and I's are known. Fine. So in that case, I have to write down as demonstrated in this particular slide. You have to write down the three equations and then you rearrange it and get the answer. Another approach could be you converge this delta network into the equivalent star network or Y network, so that it will reduce your steps. You will have only two equations and you can get your answers faster. So it depends that how you are going to develop your algorithm and compromise with the time delay. Okay. 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 So let us quickly review some more problems. Obviously you can attempt, as I told you, the approach. And let us jump to the next step, the as far as the jet parameter analysis is concerned. Okay. Now I am giving a typical application which is actually you will see in your real life scenario. Okay. That is the jet parameter analysis of terminated two port. That means the output terminal is adjacently extended till the end user, where your load is there, where your consumer is there. Okay, and you are analyzing the impact of that consumer or load in terms of impedance. So ZL is given. Okay, so I hope this is clear to you. And that ZL is remain connected with that particular network. So remember, the load, the voltage drop across the ZL and the voltage drop before the ZL, because this V2 where it is exist in this particular slide, you can see is different than that of this ZL. So the voltage drop without considering ZL, terminal impedance, okay, that is sorry, load impedance, and voltage drop considering load impedance are different. So now is going to be interesting. Okay. So if you are going to write down the two-port equation, okay, in form of algebraic or the matrix form, whether you write the KVL equations or in matrix form, considering ZL, that means the load impedance as the part of a two-port network, and that's why it is called terminated impedance. Ultimately, the current is going to finally merge or terminated at the ZL, where you will get the VL. So I hope that this is clear to you. VL is not equal to V2. It may or may not be as per mathematical calculation somewhere, but typically it will be always different because you are not considering ZL. So if ZL is equal to 0, so obviously VL and V2 will be same. Otherwise, theoretically, it is not possible. Okay. So now what equation I am getting? That one standard matrix I am getting. V1 is equal to Z11 I1 plus Z12 I2, and V2 is equal to Z21 I1 plus Z22 I2. Plus, other than that, you are also getting V2 is equal to minus ZL of I2. Why? Because if there is a load current, the load current direction should be always in forward direction. Where you have assumed, in this example, you have assumed there is a current which is connecting through that particular terminal is I2, and the direction of I2 theoretically is inward. So that's why we get minus ZL I2. Okay, so if I will add these additional quantities, okay, if you see, if you are going to add this additional quantity, so over the standard equation, okay, so in that case over here, so the modified equation can be represented as like this. It's shown in bottom. Okay, because then the V2 will be merged over here. So now you are getting V1 0, Z11, Z12, Z21, Z22 plus ZL I1 and I2, right? Similarly, input impedance you can also calculate it in terms of Z11, and you can substitute from that particular equation, okay, and you can get this standard value. So I am leaving up to you a job. There is an assignment for you that your job is to calculate the this input impedance. Okay, fine. At some other stage we can discuss. If you find any difficulty, we can also discuss. Otherwise, I'm leaving up to you. Okay, so you can get these standard terms. Fine. And if you see the next, we'll jump to the next stage. So you can follow these intermediate steps and you can get your answers overall by gain. That means which is the ratio of output upon input. So what about the gain as far as this particular typical circuit is concerned? as you can see that you know that your standard equation is v1 is equal to z11 i1 plus z12 i2, and you can represent your this replace this whole equation in terms of your input impedance as we have calculated in the previous slide. You will substitute it, which should be equal of into i1. So both the things should be remain same, where the gain is v2 by vs. Yes, okay, vs is the source voltage, and remember source voltage again is not equal to v1 terminal voltage. V1 is the terminal voltage, and across vs you are considering the series impedance or the resistance also. So it is now the ratio of v2 by v1 into v1 by vs you can write. Okay, so now I hope you can understand as far as this ratio is concerned. Okay, you can get the value of your z input upon z input plus zs, that is your ratio of v1 by vs, and you are getting the rest of the quantity from the previous equations. There is zl upon z22 upon zl into z21 into sorry upon zi. So you simplify these equations, ultimately you can get this ratio. And if you are going to rearrange this ratio fit with the standard two-port network, or the very typically the voltage amplifiers configuration, okay, or the automatic voltage gain circuit, okay, ABC, in that case the standard network circuit can be represented as like this. Whatever the nomenclature I've been told you, whether it is a voltage amplifier, automatic voltage gain circuit, okay, these things you can work it out under the head of different topic, and you can get more information about it, right? So looking into our perspective, there is a source voltage, there is a resistance voltage. This is the internal white box where the value of z11 z12 i2 z21 i1 and z22 should be arranged. Okay, here is a v2 and this here is the load impedance. So this is the now exact configuration of this particular network. Okay, because remember it is a white box, so the lower potential terminal, ground terminal, is remain same. Don't consider, okay, this entire network has a two part. It doesn't mean that both are not interconnected. Okay, this terminal even you can connect. Okay, in some books or circuits like book in Bulkenberg, it is shown that this terminal is connected, this link is conductor is connected. Okay, it is indicating that there is a some ground connection to the ground. It is establishing a connection to the ground, and therefore the lower potential as common. It's ultimately is connected. Okay. So try to understand this beautiful problem. If you still face any difficulty, don't hesitate to revert back. So I hope that you will be able to solve it. But if you are finding any difficulty, I give you a hint. Okay, do the reverse wise. Okay, you know that the ratio of V out by V1 or V out by Vs may be segregated into two part. One, what you call typically V out by V2, and then you calculate the V2 upon V1 or Vs. Okay, so in that way you will be able to solve it easily. You will be able to attempt the input impedance quickly. Okay, and therefore the voltage gain, as you can see here. Okay, so try to solve the stage 2 first. That could be uh, my approach. Okay, and then I'm assuming that this standard equation already being you have understood, and therefore we are applying directly, or otherwise you can reach to this point. There are two way. Okay, so then you substitute. So you first calculate v out by v2, and then therefore you calculate the v2 by vs. Okay, and then if you will merge these two, that means if you will have a product of these two, so ultimately you are getting a ratio of your output voltage gain, which is a ratio of v out upon vs, which is divided again further v out upon v2 that you can get, and v2 by vs is already known to you. Okay, so your job is again, as is mentioned here, your job is to show that how you are going to achieve this standard reference equation. Okay, because this can be proven. Okay, that is the out of scope of this particular problem, but I assigned you this problem as a assignment problem. Right? So if you are substituting these values, so you can see that as far as the typical numerical calculation is concerned, z out we are getting exactly 16.93 ohm. So remember, that's how we do the impedance matching property. That doesn't mean you are going to 100% achieve it. Okay, your standard requirement was 16 ohm resistance, and we are able to calculate 16.93 ohm, whereas the input impedance, if you notice stage 1 output impedance was 2 kilo ohm. So 2 kilo ohm is being stepped down. Okay, so your circuit parameters are designed in such a way of the stage 2 that the 2 kilo ohm of output of the stage 1 is able to transfer to the stage 2, and from there with the help of impedance matching impedance parameter analysis, we are able to get the impedance parameters z11 z22 z 2 1 and uh, 1 2 of the stage 2 in such a way that we will be able, if you are going to substitute these values, so ultimately Z output impedance, okay, of the final stage you are getting 16.93 ohm. Okay, so that means you can say that the load is closely matched with the output impedance. The output impedance property is satisfied. Okay, so with this I am wind up this particular lecture. Now as far as the cascade connections, some more examples are concerned, that we of the some different kind of parametrical analysis we will also see at the later stage. And anything related to Z parameter, when we talk about the interconnection of the multiple networks, that we may also focus at later stage. Okay, one demonstration or one example we already have seen here. I encourage you to attempt the different unsolved problem of the book of Boylston, and as well as the MEMN Valkenburg, the chapter number 11, I guess, in case of MEMN Valkenburg. Chapter number 10 is the network function. So with this, good luck. So we will meeting in the next lecture.